"Don't touch that door, mister." The voice came from somewhere low and to his right, just as Lawrence Holt was reaching for the handle of the parking garage stairwell on the third level of the Meridian Tower. His hand stopped in midair. Not because the voice was loud. It was not loud at all, but because there was something in it that was not a child asking to be noticed. It was a child stating a fact. He turned. A girl was standing between two parked cars, maybe 8 years old, maybe 9, with the kind of stillness that children only have when they have learned that stillness is safer than movement. She was wearing a gray hoodie 2 sizes too large and a pair of sneakers with a broken lace tied in a double knot. She had a paper coffee cup in one hand, empty, the kind people throw away near the entrance of the garage. "What did you say?" Lawrence asked. "There's a man on the other side of that door," she said. "He came up from the second level 20 minutes ago. He's been waiting in the stairwell. I can hear him through the vent." She pointed at a rectangular grate near the base of the wall without looking at it the way someone points at something they have been watching for a while. Lawrence Holt was 61 years old. He was the senior managing partner of Holt Brannigan Associates, a firm that handled corporate litigation for clients, whose names appeared in quarterly reports. He had spent 34 years learning to read rooms, to read faces, to read the particular texture of a silence that contained something wrong. The girl's face contained nothing but certainty. "How long have you been in this garage?" he asked. "Since yesterday afternoon. The attendant on the night shift doesn't check the back corner near the columns." Lawrence looked at the stairwell door. Steel gray, a small square of wire-reinforced glass at eye level. From where he stood, he could not see through it at any useful angle. "What does the man look like?" "He's big. Not fat, big. He has a blue jacket, not a work jacket, the kind you wear to look like you work somewhere. He has his phone out, but he keeps looking up at the door every few minutes like he's checking the time, but he's not checking the time." Lawrence reached into the inside pocket of his coat and took out his phone. He thought about calling the building security desk, and then he thought about the conversation he had had 4 days ago with a man named Aldous Greer, who ran the building's private security contract, and he put the thought away. "What's your name?" he asked instead. "Petra." "Petra. How did you know I was the one he was waiting for?" She looked at him the way children look at adults when the adult has said something obvious. He has a picture on his phone. He kept looking at it and then looking at the elevator bank. When the elevator opened and you came out, he stood up straight and put the phone in his pocket. Lawrence was quiet for a moment. The garage smelled of exhaust and cold concrete. 2 levels below, a car engine turned over and then idled out toward the street. "Can you walk with me?" he asked. "Back toward the elevator." "Yes," she said. She didn't hesitate. They walked together, not quickly. Lawrence kept his hand in his coat pocket with his thumb on the edge of his phone screen. He found the contact he wanted without looking down. He pressed it once. The woman who answered was named Cecily Marsh. She had been his office manager for 19 years, and she answered his calls on the second ring without exception. "Lawrence, Cecily, I'm on the third level of the Meridian parking structure. I need a car sent to the Keller Street entrance, not the main entrance. I need it in the next 8 minutes. Tell whoever you send to text me when they're at the corner, not to pull into the garage." A brief silence, not the silence of confusion. Cecily had, over 19 years, developed the useful ability to understand the difference between a request and an explanation of a request, and she knew he was giving her the first. 8 minutes, she said. "What else?" "There is a child with me. She is coming with us." Another silence, shorter. "Understood. Do not call the building security desk. Do not call anyone connected to this building's management. Call Thomas Veal at the DA's office and tell him I am texting him a location and a description in the next 90 seconds. "Thomas Veal," Cecily repeated. "I have him." The call ended. Lawrence typed 4 sentences into a text: a blue jacket, a stairwell, the third level of Meridian Tower, a photograph on a phone, and sent it to a number he had not needed in over 2 years. Petra was walking beside him with her paper cup still in her hand. She had not thrown it away. He noticed this in the way he noticed things now, as information first, feeling second. "Do you know why someone would be waiting for you?" she asked. Her voice was not unkind. It was the voice of a person asking a practical question. "I have some idea," he said. "Is it about money?" He looked at her. "What makes you ask that?" "Most things are about money," she said simply. "That's what I've figured out." Lawrence thought about the deposition he had given 3 weeks ago in the Calloway estate matter. He thought about the document he had filed with the probate court that had removed Vivian Calloway Stowe's name from the secondary trustee position and replaced it with an independent fiduciary. He thought about the phone call he had received the following morning from Vivienne's husband, a man named Preston Stowe, who had said very calmly and very briefly that Lawrence had made a decision he would come to regret. He had not told anyone about that call. He had written it down in a notebook he kept in his desk, and he had continued his morning. "Yes," he said to Petra. "It's about money." She nodded like she had expected this. They reached the elevator bank. The doors were closed. The indicator showed the car on the lobby level. "Can I ask you something?" Lawrence said. "Yes. How long have you been living in this garage?" The paper cup moved slightly in her hand. "On and off since October. I come here when the weather is bad. It's warmer than the overpass. Where do you sleep when it's not this garage?" "There's a park 2 blocks east. There's a maintenance shed at the edge of it, near the east fence. The lock broke last spring and nobody fixed it." "How old are you, Petra?" 9. I'll be 10 in March." "Where are your parents?" She looked at the elevator doors. "My dad left when I was 4. My mom got sick. She died in June." Her voice did not crack. It was the voice of someone who had said this sentence enough times that the saying of it had become separate from the feeling of it. "I'm sorry," Lawrence said. "It was fast," she said. "She didn't suffer very much. The nurses told me that." She paused. "I don't know if it's true, but I think they meant it to be kind, so I say thank you." The elevator doors opened. Lawrence did not get in. He positioned himself so that the open elevator blocked the sightline from the stairwell door and checked his phone. No text from the car yet. 6 minutes, if Cecily had sent someone immediately. "Were you in foster care?" he asked. "For a little while, after my mom died. But the placement didn't work out and they were going to move me to a group home, and I didn't want to go to a group home, because I'd heard about them from a girl at my school and I ran away." She said this matter-of-factly, without apology. "I know I'm supposed to go back. I know it's the right thing legally. She stopped. I couldn't yet." "I understand," Lawrence said. And he did in the simple animal way that a person understands a thing that has no argument on either side, only wait. His phone vibrated. The text read, "Corner of Keller and 3rd. Gray Tahoe, Victor, Petra." He crouched slightly so that he was closer to her eye level. It was an instinct he didn't examine. "There is a car waiting for us 1 block east. I would like you to walk with me out of this garage and get in that car. You are not in any trouble. The car is driven by a man named Victor who works for my office. I would like to take you somewhere safe while I sort out some things. You can say no. If you say no, I will make sure you have somewhere warm to sleep tonight through other means. But I'd like you to say yes." Petra looked at him for a long moment. She had very dark eyes that moved over a person's face the way a person's eyes move when they are reading something in a language they are still learning. Not fluently, but carefully. "Is the man in the stairwell going to follow us?" "By the time we reach the street, there will be people here who will make sure he cannot." "Okay," she said. They walked toward the pedestrian exit at the garage's far end. Lawrence did not look back at the stairwell door. He listened for it, the click of a latch, the pressure change of a door opening, and heard neither. They passed under the yellow boom arm and out onto the sidewalk. The cold hit the way November cold hits when you have been inside concrete walls, sudden and total. Victor had the rear door open before they reached the car. He was a compact man in his 50s with a face that did not change based on circumstances, which was precisely why Lawrence had asked for him specifically. "Mr. Holt Victor, this is Petra. She'll be riding with us." Victor looked at Petra for exactly 1 second, which was enough. "Hello, Petra. Watch your step." Inside the car was clean and warm. Petra climbed in and sat very straight against the seat, the paper cup still in her hand. Lawrence settled in beside her. "You can put that down," he said, nodding at the cup. She looked at it. "It's useful," she said. "If you hold something, people think you belong somewhere." Lawrence did not respond to this immediately. He looked out the window as Victor pulled away from the curb. He thought about the mechanics of that sentence, the years of quiet observation compressed into it, the way it described a whole system of survival in 9 words. "That is very smart," he said finally. "It works," she said, which was a different kind of answer, and a more honest one. His phone rang. Thomas Veal. "Lawrence, we have someone in that stairwell as of 4 minutes ago. You want to tell me what that's connected to?" "Preston Stowe," Lawrence said. "He called me 3 weeks ago after I removed his wife from the Callaway Trust. He told me I would regret it." Veal was quiet for a moment. "Preston Stowe is in the Preston Stowe, who had 2 civil judgments against him in 2019 for witness intimidation. The same." "All right, we'll talk. Are you somewhere safe?" "I am. I have some things to tell you about the last 3 weeks that I should have told you sooner." "Come in tomorrow morning. 8 o'clock." 8 o'clock, Lawrence said. The call ended. Beside him, Petra was watching the city move past the window with the focused attention of someone who has spent a great deal of time outside in it and is now seeing it from a new angle. "Where are we going?" she asked. "My office first. Then I'd like to take you to a place where you can eat something and get warm. After that, we can talk about what comes next." She was quiet. Then, "What does what comes next mean?" "It means I don't know yet. he said. And I'd rather tell you that than tell you something that isn't true. She looked at him again with those reading eyes. Okay, she said. The office of Holt Brannigan Associates occupied the 14th and 15th floors of a building on Grant Avenue, 6 blocks from the Meridian Garage. The lobby smelled of paper and old wood and the particular quality of air that comes from rooms where serious things are decided. Cecily was at the front desk when they arrived, which was not where she usually sat. She had positioned herself there intentionally. She was 63, with short silver hair and the posture of a woman who had been underestimated so many times that she had stopped tracking it. She looked at Petra with the directness of someone who had seen most things and classified them quickly. "Hello," she said. "Hello," Petra said. "This is Cecily," Lawrence said. "She runs everything here, including him," Petra asked, looking at Lawrence. "Especially him," Cecily said. She came around the desk and crouched in front of Petra without making it a production. "Are you hungry?" Petra's grip on the paper cup tightened once, then released. "A little. Come with me. There's a kitchen in the back, and I believe someone left a very good soup in the refrigerator this morning. Do you like soup?" "I like most food," Petra said, which Lawrence suspected was the truest sentence she had spoken in months. Cecily walked her toward the back hallway. At the door, Petra paused and looked back at Lawrence. "You're not leaving?" she asked. "I'll be down the hall," he said. "You can find me any time." She held the paper cup for one more moment, then set it down on the edge of the reception desk, not thrown away. Set down deliberately, like something she was choosing to let go of. Lawrence stood in his office for the first time in what felt like a long time, though it had only been 8 hours. He stood at the window and looked at the street below. He called Thomas Veal back and gave him the full account. Preston Stowe's phone call, the 2 other moments in the previous weeks when he had felt followed, the specific wording Stowe had used on the phone, which he had memorized by writing it down immediately after. He read from the notebook. Veal listened without interrupting. At the end, he said, "You should have called me 3 weeks ago, Lawrence." "I know. Why didn't you?" Lawrence thought about this honestly. "Because I have been handling things alone for a long time," he said. "And I keep forgetting that this is not always a virtue." Veal made a sound that was not quite agreement and not quite disagreement. "The man in the stairwell is talking." He confirmed Stowe's name within the first 10 minutes. "He says there were 2 operations, this one and another one planned for next week at your home address." "I see. Preston Stowe is in custody as of 45 minutes ago. He was picked up at his office." He did not look surprised, which is interesting. Lawrence thought about Preston Stowe's voice on the phone 3 weeks ago. Calm, methodical. The voice of a man who had thought through contingencies. He would have known this was a possibility, Lawrence said. "He's careful. He planned for the worst case." "Which means he has someone else in the chain," Veal said. "Someone who isn't Stowe who had the original conversation. We're working on that. In the meantime, stay out of your apartment tonight. Is there somewhere else you can be?" "Yes," Lawrence said. "There is." He thanked Veal and set the phone down on his desk. He sat in his chair for a moment and looked at the surface of it. The manila folders, the legal pads, the small framed photograph that had been sitting in the same position for 9 years. A photograph of himself and his sister on a hiking trail in Vermont, 2 summers before she died. She was laughing in the photograph. He was not, but he was looking at her in the way that people look at other people when they know the moment is going to end, and they are trying to hold it a little longer. He thought about Petra sitting in the parking garage for 2 nights, with a paper cup in her hand. He thought about his house in Aldermore, which had 4 bedrooms and a kitchen with a gas stove and a yard that had gone untended since the fall because he had not had the time or the reason to tend to it. He thought about what he intended to do, and he was not certain of all of it, but he was certain of enough. Cecily appeared in the doorway. "She ate 2 bowls of soup," she said, "and a piece of bread and an apple. She asked if she could have another apple, and I gave her 3, Cecily. She's in the conference room. She found a legal pad and a box of markers, and she's drawing something. She hasn't said what." "I need to stay somewhere else tonight," Lawrence said. "The house on Aldermore. I'd like to take her with me. I want to ask her first. I want to ask her honestly, not in a way that makes it hard to say no." Cecily looked at him for a moment. Her expression did not change in the dramatic sense, but there was a shift in it, the small shift of a face that is deciding not to say several things and choosing one. "Then go ask her," she said. The conference room was large and mostly dark. Petra had turned on only the lamp at the far end of the table and was sitting underneath it, cross-legged on the chair, with the legal pad propped against the table's edge. She had drawn a house, a simple one, the kind children draw, with a square body and a triangular roof and a window on each side. But she had added details that surprised him: a garden along the base of the house, rows of small circles that might have been flowers, and in the upper left window, a lamp. "That's good," Lawrence said. "I know the shapes are basic," she said, still drawing, "but I like to get the inside parts right." He sat down across from her, not at the head of the table, across so that they were at the same level. "Petra, I need to tell you some things and then I need to ask you something." She set the markers down. She gave him her full attention, which was, he was beginning to understand what she gave to everything, a total and unguarded focus that most adults had trained themselves out of. "The man who sent someone to wait for me in the garage has been arrested. There may be other people connected to him who are still not settled. Because of that, I've been advised not to stay at my apartment tonight. I have a house in Aldermore about 40 minutes from here. It's a real house. It has a kitchen and a yard and 4 rooms and a woman named Ida who checks on it twice a week and keeps it in order." He paused. "I would like to invite you to stay there, not just tonight, for as long as you need somewhere to be while we figure out what you need and how to get it." He stopped. "You can say no. You can tell me you'd rather I find you somewhere through the city or through a program, and I will do that instead, and I will make sure it's a good one. Your choice is real. I'm not asking you to feel like you owe me something because of the garage. You saved me a lot of trouble today, and we are even on that." Petra looked at the drawing for a moment, then at him. "Who's in the house normally?" she asked. "Just you?" "Just me. Since my sister died 9 years ago, it's mostly been just me." "Was she older or younger?" "Younger. By 4 years." Petra nodded slowly. "My mom was an only child. She always said that was the loneliest part about growing up, not having anyone who remembered the same things you did." Lawrence did not answer right away. He thought about Vermont, about the photograph, about the way memory worked when there was only one person left to hold it. "She was right," he said. Petra picked up a blue marker and capped it, then uncapped it, then capped it again. "Is the house quiet?" "Very." "Okay," she said. "I'll come." The house on Aldermore Lane was a gray craftsman with a wide front porch and maple trees in the yard that had mostly finished dropping their leaves. The lights inside were on when they arrived. Ida had been called. She was a broad-shouldered woman in her late 60s who received their arrival the way people receive expected things, warmly and without ceremony. "Mr. Holt." She looked at Petra with the straightforward appraisal of someone who had no time for pretending not to look. "Hello there." "Hello," Petra said. "I'm Ida. Are you hungry?" "I ate soup earlier," Petra said. "And 3 apples. That's a start," Ida said. "Come in." The house smelled of wood smoke and something baking. The front hall had bookshelves on both sides and a wooden bench under the coat hooks and a braided rug that had been there since before Lawrence had owned the house. Petra walked in and stopped in the middle of the hallway and looked at the shelves with an expression he recognized, the expression of a reader encountering an unexpected library. "You can take any of those," he said. "Any of them you want." She turned. "To borrow?" "To keep," he said. "I have more copies of most of them. Or I can get them." She looked back at the shelves and did not say anything, but her hand reached out and touched the spine of a book on the second shelf. Slowly, the way you touch something you are not sure you are allowed to touch. He did not make a thing of it. He hung up his coat. They ate dinner at the kitchen table, which was large enough for 6, and had only ever been used by 2. Himself and Ida. On the rare evenings she stayed late enough to eat. Petra ate roasted chicken and green beans and a roll with butter and drank 2 glasses of milk without appearing to register that she was drinking them. Ida took her plate when she was finished and, without discussion, produced a small dish with 2 slices of apple pie. "I made it this afternoon," she said. "I figured it was that kind of day." Petra looked at the pie. "How did you know what kind of day it was?" "I've been working for Mr. Holt for 11 years, Ida said, returning to the sink. "I've learned to read the calls." After dinner, Lawrence showed Petra the room at the end of the upstairs hall. It had a window that looked over the yard, a bed with a blue quilt, a small desk, and a lamp. It was the room that had been his sister's when she visited. He had not changed it much since. "The bathroom is across the hall," he said. "There are towels. Take as many as you need." Ida left some things on the dresser. Pajamas, a toothbrush. They may not fit perfectly. Petra stood in the doorway and looked at the room without entering it. "You don't have to sleep in here if it feels strange," he said. "Sometimes a room that's too quiet is harder than a room that isn't yours." She looked at him. "How do you know that?" "I've slept in a lot of places," he said. "After my sister died, hotels mostly. I kept booking rooms and then finding I couldn't stay in them because they were too quiet, because there was no one on the other side of the wall." She thought about this. Then she walked into the room and sat on the edge of the bed and took off her sneakers, the one with the broken lace and the one without, and set them side by side on the floor. "I'll try," she said. "That's all," he said. "Good night, Petra. Good night, Mr. Holt," she said. He left the door open 3 inches. He did not know if she had asked him to. He did it anyway. He did not sleep well. He lay in the dark of his own room and listened to the house. The heat came on twice, a low familiar rattle. Somewhere outside a branch moved against the window. He heard, near 3 in the morning, the soft sound of a door, and then small footsteps in the hallway, and then silence. He did not get up. He lay still and listened and heard the footsteps pass his door and stop just at the edge, and then the small sound of a person settling against the wall in the hallway outside, the soft compression of a body sitting down on a wooden floor. He did not open the door. He lay in the dark and listened to her breathe until her breathing slowed into the particular evenness of sleep, and then he lay there a while longer. In the morning, she was not in the hallway when he came out. She was downstairs at the kitchen table with the book she had taken from the shelf, a collection of illustrated natural history essays, open to a chapter on migratory birds. She had a glass of orange juice at her elbow that she had apparently poured herself. She did not look up when he came in. "There's a bird called the bar-tailed godwit," she said. "That flies 11,000 miles without stopping. From Alaska to New Zealand." "I know," he said. He got himself a cup of coffee. "I used to have a colleague who was obsessed with them." "How does it know where to go?" "Magnetic fields, apparently. Something in its brain reads the Earth's magnetic field like a compass." She considered this. "It doesn't get tired." "It must," he said, "but it goes anyway." She was quiet for a moment. Then, "Do you think it knows that it's going to make it?" "I think," he said slowly, sitting down across from her, "that it probably doesn't think about it. It just goes." She looked at the page. She did not answer. But something in her face settled slightly, in the way that faces settle when they have heard something that doesn't solve anything, but makes the weight of it a little more possible to hold. Cecily called at 8:30. She had located the group home Petra had run from in October, and the caseworker assigned to Petra's case, and she had done this, Lawrence suspected, before she had eaten her own breakfast. "Her name is Angie Durwood," Cecily said. "She's been trying to locate Petra since October 15th. She's not." A pause. "She's not a bad person, Lawrence. She has 62 cases. She has 62 cases and a car that needs a transmission. All right, there are options. A family in Dorset that has a good track record and a specific interest in children with, as the file describes it, high independence profiles, which I think is social work language for children who have had to grow up faster than they should. And the other options." Cecily was quiet for a half-second. "There is a guardianship path," she said. "It's not simple. It requires home evaluation, background check, financial assessment, and a recommendation from the caseworker. It takes approximately 4 to 6 months. There is no guarantee." Lawrence turned his coffee cup in his hands. "Get me Angie Durwood's number," he said, "and find out what the home evaluation requires." Another half-second. "Lawrence, I know. She's 9 years old. She's going to grow up. She's going to be 17 and then 23 and then 38. This is not a short thing. I know," he said again. "All right," Cecily said. "I'll have the number to you by 9. He put the phone down on the table. Petra had not looked up from the book, but he suspected she had heard. She turned a page with the careful deliberateness of someone who is concentrating very hard on not reacting. "Petra," he said. "Yes. I want to ask you something, and you can answer any way you want, and the answer won't change anything about breakfast or the book or any of the things in this house." She closed the book with her finger, holding the page. She looked at him. "Would it be all right with you," he said, "if I looked into what it would take for you to stay here? Not as a guest, as something more permanent." The kitchen was very quiet. Outside a bird, he didn't know which kind, made one short call and then was quiet. "What does permanent mean?" Petra asked. "It means you'd have an address," he said. "A real one. Your name in the school system here, not as a case number. The same bed every night, people who know where you are." She looked down at the book cover. On it was a painted illustration of a godwit in flight, wings fully extended, over a blue-gray sea. "You'd have to be checked," she said. "People would come and look at the house, yes, and it might not work out. It might not. I'd rather tell you that than make a promise I can't guarantee." She was quiet for longer this time. Long enough that he thought she might not answer, or that she might say she needed to think about it, which was a reasonable answer and the one he would have given. "My mom used to say," she said finally, "that a person who tells you what might go wrong before it goes wrong is someone you can trust." She opened the book again to the Godwit page. "Okay," she said. "You can look into it." He looked at her profile, the set jaw, the careful eyes, the small hands flat on either side of the book, and he thought about the parking garage, the paper cup, the broken lace. He thought about the voice that said, "Don't touch that door, mister," with the same matter-of-fact calm that a person uses when they have stopped expecting to be listened to and have decided to speak anyway. He drank his coffee. She read about birds that fly 11,000 miles and do not stop and do not know that they are going to make it, and go anyway. In the months that followed, the guardianship process was exactly as complicated as Cecily had said it would be. There were home visits and interviews and a review of Lawrence's financials that he found mildly intrusive and Cecily found entirely reasonable. Angie Durwood came to the house on Aldermore 3 times, and on the third visit stayed for dinner, which Ida produced without being asked. Petra answered Angie's questions with the same careful attention she gave to everything, and afterward, when Angie had gone, she asked Lawrence if she had said the right things. "You said the true things," he told her. "That's better." Preston Stowe pleaded no contest to charges of criminal solicitation and conspiracy. The person above him in the chain, a former business associate named Gerard Finch, whom Lawrence had never met, was indicted separately. The Callaway Trust was restructured by the probate court, and the independent fiduciary held. Vivian Callaway Stowe sent Lawrence a letter that he read once and did not respond to, and then filed in a drawer. Petra started at a school 6 blocks from the house in January. She was behind in some things and ahead in others, in the way that children are when they have been educated partly by classrooms and partly by necessity. She was assigned a reading tutor who, after the 3rd session, called Lawrence to say that Petra had corrected his pronunciation of 2 words and that he had looked them up and she had been right both times. She grew. This sounds simple, and it was, and it wasn't. She grew in the way that children grow when they have finally stopped spending their energy on staying safe and can spend it on other things. She had opinions about food that she had previously kept to herself. She told Lawrence once carefully that she found the living room furniture arrangement illogical, and when he asked what she would change, she moved 2 chairs and a lamp, and he had to admit the room made more sense. She kept a box on her desk. In it was the broken lace from her sneaker, which she had kept without explaining why, and a photograph of her mother from before, and a piece of paper with a bird drawn on it. Not the illustrated godwit from the book, but one she had drawn herself, in the kitchen, the morning after she had read about them, small and determined-looking, wings up. Lawrence did not ask her about the box. He figured she would tell him when she was ready, and she was the only one who knew when that was. He found out, eventually. She was 11, and they were eating dinner on the porch in September, and she said, without preamble, "I keep the shoelace, because it's the thing I had in my hand the day you came into the garage. I don't want to forget what that felt like," he asked. "What did it feel like?" "Like being the only one who knew something," she said, "and deciding to say it. Anyway." He thought about all the people in that garage that morning, the dozen or more, who had passed through the 3rd level on their way to their cars, who had moved past the stairwell door, who had not been looking. He thought about a 9-year-old girl sitting between 2 parked cars with a paper cup in her hand, watching a man's phone screen go dark. "You were right to say it," he said. She shrugged in the way she shrugged when she had already decided something and did not need him to confirm it. "I know," she said. "I just wanted you to know that I remember the exact minute." He looked out at the yard, the maple trees, the last of the September light on the grass. Somewhere above the roofline, a bird crossed in a direction he could not name. He did not know what kind it was. He made a note to ask her in the morning. She would know.